Good morning, Meeting Street. It's Miss Gassaway here, and today is Wednesday, May 20th. We have spent the week discussing how to read treble clef notes. So we have two ways of memorizing the different notes. So if a note has a line going through it, on our treble clef, we use going from the bottom line to the top line, we have starting from the bottom and then going up, we have every good boy does fine. And then for our line notes, our space notes, those are going to be notes that are right in the space. We have F-A-C-E, face. Face face goes in the space. So you really have to pay attention to whether or not there's a line going through the note. Now sometimes, depending on how long this note is, it might be filled in, so you really have to look at kind of the outside of the note. But for today's purpose, I'm going to leave them open so that you can see if that line is going through it. So today we're kind of going to be working backwards from what we've been doing the last couple days. The last few days we have been reading these notes, and today we are going to be notating these notes. And what that means is you're going to be writing them yourself. Or drawing them, really. So, in order to practice, you're going to draw your own music staff. So, if you remember how many lines were in a music staff, it's 5 lines. So I'm just going to draw 5 lines and try to make them as straight as I can. 3, 4, 5. And then at the end, you're always going to draw a double bar line, because that tells us our piece is over. And then here, if you want to try drawing a treble clef, you can. The way I do it is I kind of make a little hook here. I start, sorry, it's hard to do backwards. Then I go to the left, and then once I kind of make a C, once I get to the middle line, this one's a lot more rounded, like that. Kind of do a squiggly line like that. But you don't have to do that. Did I draw that backwards? I did draw that backwards, but that's fine. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to give you a couple letters, and your job is to identify if the letter I give you is in Every Good Boy Does Fine, or if it's in face. That's going to tell you if it's a line note or a space note. Go to the right. That's better. So if it's F, A, C, or E, it's going to be a space. If it's E, G, B, D, F, it's going to be on the line. Now, if you notice, I said F in both of those. So I said Every Good Boy Does Fine, which is going to be an F. But F is also the first letter in face. So if it's F, it could be both. The same goes for E. The last letter in face, F-A-C-E, is E. So E is also the first note in Every Good Boy Does Fine. So if it's F or E, it could be both. So don't get too caught up on that. So you can just kind of choose. So basically, I'm going to write some letters, and then we're going to decide if it's line or space. B. B is not a letter in face. So we're going to be using every good boy does fine. And we use every good boy does fine for the line. So we're going to write line. Next we have C. Is C in face, or does C begin a word in every good boy does fine? It was face. So we use face for space. Next, D. Is D a letter in face, or does it begin a word in every good boy does fine? Every good boy does fine, and we use that for the line. So it's going to be a line note. And then last, we have E, every good boy does fine, or FACE. So, excuse me, we could use E for either of those. So we get to pick if we want to do the line or the space. And since we already have 2 line notes, I guess I'll just do the space. Let's see. Oh, space. Okay. So now we're going to notate these notes. When you write notes, they have to be a pretty specific size. If your note, if the circle, the note head, if it's too big, then it's unclear as to which line or space it's on. And if you can't tell which line or space it's on, then you can't tell what note it is. So it's really important that you use your very best handwriting. So if I'm using every good boy does fine on the line, sorry, hold it up. We're going to go every good boy. So it's right here on this line. I'm going to draw a circle, and I want this middle line going right through the middle of it. So here it's very clear that this line is going right through it, so you know that it's B. If I drew it a little too big, like that, well, the line's in the middle, but it's also kind of looks like this space note here and the space note here. So it's got to be kind of small. So clean that up a little bit. Okay. So there's our B. Next, we need to do C. It's a space note, so we're going to use space to find it. So F-A-C. So it's in this space right here. Same thing goes for space notes. It needs to be written really carefully so it's not the top of the note touches that line and the bottom of the note touches the line below it, so that it's clear that it's a space note. If any of this note gets below or above the line, then it's going to be unclear as to which one you're drawing. Next, we have D. Every good boy does. So start at the bottom. Every good boy does. And then our last one, we said we were going to use the space one. So we could write, if we chose the line one, we could write here because that's every, good boy does fine, and every starts with E. But we said we were going to use the space one. So instead of having this one, we're going to go F, A, C, E. So some of these are a little neater than others. And whenever you have, whenever I have a nice printed staff paper, my handwriting is always better because when the lines are even, it's a lot more, it's a lot easier to write the notes exactly correct when those lines are really even. So that might be helpful for you too. One way you could make your own is by tracing the side of a piece of paper, or if you have notebook paper that has lines on it, you could just trace 5 lines, and that would be fine too. So you guys have spent all week learning how to read these notes, and now you guys are able to write the notes. So I encourage you to practice on your own. And what you could do is you could even make like a little code. You could do like a code letter and replace some of the words with music notes if you're going to write someone who knows how to read music. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.